were off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. One of my squadron mates was flying in formation. They noticed our formation of objects with a larger object behind it.
They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 miles from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
But there's no propulsion, there's no airfoils, air wings. It's strange.
Look at that thing. It's rotating.
We still don't know what it is.
UFO'er er et af vores tids store, uopklarede mysterier. Mens nogen mener, det er besøg fra rummet, ryster andre på hovedet. Men nogle videoer, optaget af piloter i den amerikanske flåde, har fået folk til at spærre øjnene op.
The issue of UFOs has kind of busted through.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Jeg er taget til USA, for hvad der før blev grint af, bliver nu undersøgt på højeste niveau.
Nu er selv den amerikanske kongres og de amerikanske myndigheder begyndt at tage det alvorligt. Så måske er der noget om det. Where do you want to set up?
I'm thinking that right here is fairly level, and we won't be tripping as we look into the telescope, you know.
Der findes ikke mange steder så mørke som Arizonas ørken efter solnedgang. På en skyfri aften skulle det være det helt rigtige sted at spotte UFO'er.
I'm hoping we see unusual things tonight. Unexplainable things.
Hurd er ufolog, og jeg har taget med ham herud for at forstå den UFO-entusiasme, der findes i USA netop nu.
When you do have a very dark area and you look long enough, you almost always see things that kind of move strangely. Did you see the flash over here?
I didn't see it, no.
Yeah, it just flashed. The Phoenix Lights incident that happened here in Arizona in 1997, that really got me focused on it. A large or various large boomerang-shaped aircraft flew diagonally across the state of Arizona over a 2 or 3 hour period. Thousands and thousands of people saw this or these craft. There were multiple reports. And then at 10 p.m., there was a display of lights over a mountain range south of Phoenix that was very visible. Everybody could see. It has endured as one of the classic cases of UFOs, the largest mass sighting in modern history.
Jeg kan ikke se så meget lige nu her. Altså, der er masser af stjerner, og satellitter kan jeg også se. Men ikke nogen UFO'er endnu. So what am I looking for?
So very much like a satellite. That's exactly what they look like, but they make 90-degree turns, or they stop and then go. There, see it? Did you see it? Oh no, you didn't. That was cool. Yeah, if it's aliens, they got quite a sense of humor, I think.
And what do you think it is?
Could be extraterrestrials flying from A to B. I think there are other viable theories as to what it could be. For example, interdimensional. When I first started, I was concerned about what people would think. It was ridicule, you were irrational, illogical, you're a crackpot. What changed the taboo was the United States government acknowledging the reality of UFOs. People began to realize, oh, this is real.
Hvis man ikke rigtig troede på, at ufologien i USA har bevæget sig fra kuk til Incl, fik man beviset den 17. maj i år.
The subcommittee come to order.
Her holdt den amerikanske kongres en høring om UAPs, eller uidentificerede luftfænomener. der er myndighedernes nye betegnelse for UFO'er.
What are UAPs? Airborne objects that cannot be immediately identified.
Most congressional hearings, there's hardly anybody in the room. This was like crowded, not a place to sit. People were standing in the back. Some of the hearings were even broadcast live across the country because it was such a rare occasion.
It is serious stuff with the House Intelligence Subcommittee today probing top defense intelligence officials for answers to some very real mystery.
For too long, the stigma associated with UAPs has gotten in the way of good intelligence analysis. Today, we know better.
One of the biggest things we learned was simply that the number of cases that the military is investigating was much higher than we had known before.
Approximately 400 reports. The stigma has been reduced.
I think one of the other big takeaways is that the members of Congress are really, really interested in this issue.
UAP reports have been around for decades, and yet we haven't had an orderly way for them to be reported. That needs to change.
Let me share with you the first video that we have here today. There it was. Spherical object right here, zoomed by the window, right in this area right here.
For a long time, the topic of UFOs was political kryptonite. No one wanted to touch it because it was politically explosive and it might ruin your career. I think the congressional hearing shows that that's no longer the case.
Unidentified aerial phenomena are a potential national security threat, and they need to be treated that way.
Vor tids interesse for UFO'er begyndte for alvor i 1947. Først så piloten Kenneth Arnold det, han beskrev som 7 skinnende objekter, der lignede flyvende underkopper. På dansk blev det til flyvende tallerken. Kun 2 uger senere styrtede noget ned i nærheden af byen Roswell. Militæret sagde først, at det var en flyvende tallerken, men ændrede hurtigt forklaring. Det var bare en vejrballon. Kimen til utallige konspirationsteorier var lagt. Nogle mente for eksempel, at man havde fundet rumvæsener, som nu blev skjult på et militært område, kaldet Area 51. Lige siden er der blevet ledt efter og set UFO'er. Her er det lydoptagelser fra de amerikanske luftfartsmyndigheder fra 2018, hvor flere piloter så noget, de ikke kunne forklare over delstaten Arizona.
Negative. A UFO. Yeah. I don't know what it was. It wasn't an airplane, but it passed us going opposite direction.
So it's my man cave, and this is where I do my UFO research as well.
I have come to invade your primitive world.
Shanes interesser har fået ham til at blive aktiv i Mutual UFO Network, eller MUFON, en forening for UFO-interesserede.
Unidentified aerial phenomena, a beginner's guide for researching UFOs.
Som såkaldt field investigator i MUFON er det hans opgave at undersøge nogle af de flere tusind årlige anmeldelser om UFO'er, som foreningen modtager.
So I was assigned this case about a week ago. This one happens to be a CE3, which is our most complex rating for a case. I don't get what this is. So I'm still not decided on this. I have more work to do. Could be aircraft that come around, fly like this. So now what I want to do is try and determine, could that have been an aircraft? This is where I need the date and the time, 4/28 at 7 p.m. And that's going to help me verify whether there was an aircraft in place or not. But what I'm seeing here is there's not an aircraft in that area at that time. And the next step would be that I'm going to go there myself and take a look.
I I år er det 75 år siden, at et eller andet styrtede ned tæt på Roswell, og byen fejrer jubilæet med en stor UFO-festival. På scenen står et af hovednavnene, Nick Pope.
This is one of the few pictures that survive of me in the real-life X-Files office. I was a civilian employee of the UK Ministry of Defence for 21 years, and for much of the early 90s, I was posted to a division where my job was to research and investigate UFOs.
I dag er Nick Pope en af ufologiens mest etablerede stjerner. For de mange UFO-observationer, han selv undersøgte, og den dokumentation, han så, fik ham overbevist om, at der er noget, et eller andet derude.
What we're looking at here is a declassified file, and that's my handwriting. So this is one of my case files. Of course, most of them are misidentifications. 90% of it maybe was aircraft lights, weather balloons, meteors, satellites, the list goes on. But I began to realize that there was more to this than just misidentifications, hoaxes, or psychological delusions. This is an interesting one because you can see here, for example, how highly classified some of these documents were. Firstly, all governments, of course, police the territorial integrity of their own airspace. So if there's something flying, they want to know what it is. But secondly, and related to that, is the fear that an adversary may have developed some quantum leap breakthrough in aerospace technology. People often say, well, is there a UFO cover-up? And the answer is that there is. It's not that we have alien spaceships hidden in Air Force hangars, but what we were covering up was the true and very involved sense of our interest in this.
Det begyndte at ændre sig i 2017.
Earlier this week, the New York Times and Politico revealed the existence of a secret government program to investigate UFO sighting.
Maybe our favorite story of the day, the one that we mentioned at the top of the show, cue the music. What looks to be a case of real-life X-Files.
Her afslørede 2 medier, at den amerikanske regering i flere år havde haft et hemmeligt UFO-program.
We're learning this morning about a Pentagon program that spent millions of dollars to look into UFO sightings.
Og 3 videoer blev offentliggjort.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA.
Like this one experienced by a U.S. Navy pilot.
Oh my gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
Once that story was out, everything changed. To have, in the public domain, 3 videos officially acknowledged by the United States military. These films are real, and we still don't know what these phenomena are. That was unprecedented, and that is what pushed this story out of the fringe and into the mainstream.
It's bad news on us, dude. Well, if there's a thing, it's rotating.
I don't know what all of the UFOs are, but I don't think there's any good evidence that they are something like aliens. This little blob here isn't actually the shape of the object. It's actually glare.
I modsætning til mange andre, blev Mick West ikke specielt overbevist af de 3 videoer.
And if you have like something on the surface of the lens, like it's a little bit smudged, then that can create a shape to the glare. Do a little smudge, don't move my finger so much, flying saucer. And if I had to rotate this, you see the glare is rotating. I am a skeptical investigator and a debunker. And that means that I investigate things like UFO videos, and I try to figure out what's actually going on. I've analyzed hundreds of videos. Some of them I've been looking at for years, like the gimbal video.
Gimbal-videoen hedder sådan, fordi den er optaget på et kamera, der hænger i en såkaldt gimbal.
You often see these cameras that are mounted like this, underneath helicopters or in security situations. When it's mounted like this, it becomes more complicated. Okay, so this is, if I move it around like this, you see that it has to rotate and tilt. Now, if I move it past this position here, you will see that a camera has to do this big rotation. It's just an artifact of the camera being mounted this way. The camera system internally has to derotate it, and that gives us the same view that we see over here. It is a rotating glare. I've reached the conclusion that it's a glare in the camera that's only rotating because the camera itself is rotating. We just don't know what's actually behind the glare.
Okay. So it could still be an alien spaceship?
Of course. Anything could be an alien spaceship, but since there's no evidence it's an alien spaceship, and planes are pretty common, I think a plane is way more likely.
That argument to me doesn't really correlate with reality.
Ryan Graves er tidligere jægerpilot og har fløjet missioner i både Irak og Afghanistan. Han fløj i samme eskadrille som piloterne, der optog gimbal-videoen.
To hear them speaking like that, I know that they are truly, confused at what they're seeing.
Han giver ikke meget for Mick Wests analyse.
I mean, I've talked to the air crew. None of the conclusions that are drawn by people that don't understand the systems or that weren't there are correct. They need to be looking at the radar data, which includes all the kinematic data, all the velocities, the airspeeds, the relative positions, the directions. That's the data that's needed.
And that's not available to them?
That information, unfortunately, like most radar data, is classified.
Men det vilde er, fortæller Ryan Graves, at gimbal-videoen blot er et eksempel på oplevelser, han og de andre jægerpiloter havde nærmest hver eneste dag.
Every day we would see them. At first we detected it on our new radars that we had just upgraded it to. Eventually people flew close enough to actually see what they looked like. But what they described was a dark gray or black cube inside a clear sphere. We're out there in the fastest aircraft that does the coolest stuff with weapons and radars. But then here's an object that it's still outperforming us, and it just, and it's not aerodynamic. I don't think it's the United States technology, and I'm becoming less confident that it could be Russia or China at this point. But I wonder if, perhaps what we're looking for might be a lot more weird or less obvious than we think it is. I don't think we're going to find an easy answer.
I am heading to the location that the reporting person took the video of the UFO. And it's a night shot. I like to take a picture in the daytime so that I can see if there's any explanatory features. It was driving down this side of the road, and so the line of sight was just not much higher than these wires. Now, this is perfect. So I'm going to take a series of just still photos because they're kind of easier to manage. And then when I'm going to make comparison to his video. I don't see anything that would explain the object itself. To me, it looked very drone-like. If it's identifiable, it's a drone. And I'll make some phone calls and find out. Okay. Hey Siri, contact City of Scottsdale Police Department, but don't call 911. I'm investigating a case on April 28th at about 7 p.m. Would you operate something in that area at that time, typically?
We have you as drone
drones to investigate criminal activity, yes?
Okay, gotcha. Yes. I'm shocked. I usually get the runaround. I'm gonna take a minute here and just quote him, and I'm gonna put that in my report. Let's see, Scottsdale. Nice. Is enough for me to say that most likely was a drone.
Spørger man Shane Hurd, går ufologien en strålende fremtid i møde med stadig stigende interesse fra politikere, regeringen og ikke mindst militæret.
It makes sense that they're going to focus on military encounters, which then still leaves the rest of the world and all of us civilians and all of those experiences that continue to need to be investigated.
Den amerikanske kongres har bestilt flere UFO-rapporter. Der kommer en igen til oktober, og både militæret og rumfartsorganisationen NASA har nedsat hold, der skal undersøge fænomenet.
Inden jeg begyndte på den her rejse, der synes jeg, det var sjovt og fascinerende, men det var ikke noget, jeg sådan tog rigtig seriøst. Men det kan jeg jo se, at der er rigtig, rigtig mange fornuftige mennesker, som gør. Og det betyder nok også, at jeg vil se på det med lidt andre øjne fra nu af.
Sure, 99% of all of this may turn out to be aircraft and drones and missiles and satellites. But the skeptics have to be right every day. The believers only need to be right once.